She real cute. I used to be real insecure about that, but girl, she is giving what she is supposed to have gave. Like, white women pay for that. Anyway, so I'm back to finish this, and I'm back to say this. When it comes down to it, you think Jerome will remove the video now that you've requested that it be removed? I don't know. To be perfectly honest, I don't know. I know that he's heard it, and I know that we all saw him hear it. And so, you know, we can only assume. But since Jerome did name that he is a producer, then, you know, we now know that somebody who has a little bit of pull knows how I feel and knows what I want to be done. And so, you know, there's that. Jerome, I'll add you once I'm done making my point. So please stick around if you can. But I don't want to get lost in the sauce of our conversation, you know, and all that stuff. But now that Jerome knows, I don't know how much pull. And let me say this. Just because Jerome named himself as a producer, what I also want to name for each other is that Fox is still run by white people. Jerome is still a black gay man, a black openly gay man who is very vocal about the fact that he is gay. And so while we can hold Jerome accountable for knowing, we can't act like we don't understand and note that black people in these spaces, and especially black queer people in these spaces, don't have a lot of pull, because they will move the goalposts for those people as well. So I'm not going to make it seem like, oh, if it doesn't happen, if Jerome don't do it, then he's a horrible person, because we already know how this go. So yeah. But when it comes down to this, the thing that bothered me the most about being asked to come back by Fox Soul is this. One, they did not even reach out to me so that we could have a conversation about how they felt about anything or whatever the case may have been. Okay? Please turn your post notifications on. If you're not getting the notifications that I'm going live, it's because I'm being... And so y'all need to turn off the notifications and turn them back on so that it resets, so that you know when I go live again, for those people who are having that issue. Now, because I'm being, y'all know we can't even say the word no more without being again. So, do that. When it comes down to it, my issue that I have with Fox Soul and how everything went down is that before having a talk with me about how they felt or anything that was going on, these people decided that they were going to ask me to come back and be a part of the part 2 conversation that included DivaWuan. Now, once again, in my prior read, which I'm sure somebody has set aside in their phone, in my prior read, like I had said, DivaWuan was not even a major player in this conversation. There was no reason for him to even be invited back to the conversation, because he didn't contribute much to the first conversation. I don't know if they invited Dr. Umar back and he said no. I'm not sure if they invited Cynthia back and she said no. Howsoever, out of all of the people, I don't think that DivaWuan should have even been, because he didn't add to that conversation. So what did y'all think he was going to add to this one? And like I told production when they hit me up, I told them that he's looking for his clip, because DivaWuan did not make a big impact on the first one. He understands and recognizes that now it's a hot button topic and a hot button issue, and anything that you post on YouTube right now with my name on it is going to get clout. And so now what he did was he accepted it based off of the idea that in his mind, he was going to get me together publicly for all of the dudes that couldn't get me together. And I refuse. And so what I said to them was, if DivaWuan is willing to respect my pronouns and all of that jazz, then I will go ahead and do it. Then I sat on that and I thought about it and I said, how can y'all guarantee that this man is going to say what y'all need him to say? He ain't under no NDA. Y'all ain't going to give him no contract. Y'all ain't threatening him with suing, none of that stuff. So even if he just gives y'all his word, he can say that and then get on here and call me everything under the book and leave, which we'll address because that actually happened in the continuation part 2 conversation if you saw it. But I'm not going to tell y'all to go look at it because girl, bye. So I thought about it and I slept on it and I said, well, there's no way that they can guarantee me that this man is going to say those things. And so I'm going to pull a Danny Lay. What I need is for him to be removed and for me to be able to come on because I'm the person who has not been on the internet, you know, doing all of the things and saying all of the things about everybody. And so I should be able to come back on and have a conversation. And if it is brought up, which we all know that it would be, I would have the space to express myself without someone who wasn't even significant to the first conversation trying to butt in and make their own little clip so that they could go viral. And so that people on the other side can say, oh yeah, bruh, DivaWuan, you did that. You showed that man. Like, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. And I wasn't going to just willingly give him the clip. The thing that pissed me off with Fox Soul's response to that ask was, we don't want to be biased and we don't want to make it seem like we're playing favorites or on the side of either person, but you should be. You should be on the side of the person that's being attacked for absolutely no fucking reason. You should be. You should want to make the statement that Fox Soul does not support the bullshit that y'all have been doing to this girl over the past couple of weeks. And we do choose her. If her thing is she's only going to come on if you're not here, first of all, you were insignificant to the first conversation. You can go. Let's get her on here to be able to speak her piece and have a genuine conversation with people who want to have a conversation. And so my thing is, why was it so hard for y'all to declare that you don't support that you are choosing a side, that you are saying, we're not going to allow you to come on this space and do what we've seen you doing on social media? And so it's one of those things where this is not a space where I feel like you get to play devil's advocate, because if you stand for something, you stand for something. When Uber said that we stand for Black lives, and if you don't fuck with that, don't ride our service, they meant that, regardless of their problematic past. When Uber came out and said during the height of the George Floyd protests and all of that stuff, they didn't say just Black Lives Matter. Uber said, if you don't fuck with Black people, don't ride this service. Period. And that is what Fox Soul should have done, in my opinion. Howsoever, I don't know how things work on the back end. I don't understand small logistics. I don't understand all of this other stuff. And so maybe there are things that go into that make it a little bit more difficult for them to say those things. Howsoever, it doesn't change the way that I feel about how they should have acted in this particular situation. And so therefore, when they told me that, what I said was okay. Have a conversation with somebody else. Because what I'm not going to do is be in a space where someone who I know, who y'all know, wants to attack me and wants to get his 15 moments of fame extended. Exactly. What we do know is that they do not care about my negative experience at all. But it is what it is. So Fox Soul, that's how I feel. I feel that way. I feel that way. And I'm not going to blame the Black people that are working underneath the white system, the patriarchy. I'm not going to blame the people that y'all probably consider to be coffee runners and all of that bullshit. I'm not going to blame Tammy Mack. I'm not going to blame Jerome. I'm not blaming nobody but the people at the top who looked at this lineup and said, ooh, bitch, we gonna kill him with this one. Because I'm a human being. I have a family. My mother has to see these comments. My siblings have to see these comments. My boyfriend has to see these comments. People that I love have to see these comments. So Fox Soul, this is not just your ratings. This is not just about, oh, y'all getting y'all views up. This is about the fact that I have a fucking family. And y'all didn't care about the trauma that it was causing to my family. Y'all didn't care about the fact that this puts a space where people who believe this and know this and see this can walk up to my mama and do all type of stuff to my mama. And say whatever the fuck they feel like they want to say to my mama, Foxhole. Y'all don't understand that people who know my siblings could possibly, because they don't have access to me, take this out on my siblings, Foxhole. Y'all don't understand that my boyfriend could be at work trying to fight fires and save lives, and somebody can recognize that he's my boyfriend and make it a big deal while he's at work, Foxhole. And so the least thing that y'all could have done was show me support. The least that y'all could have done was stand in solidarity with me publicly. The least that y'all could have done was do me the solid of simply saying, Hope, we want to give you the space to speak your piece about disclosure because we want to hear from the horse's mouth why you felt like it was not needed in that conversation. But y'all couldn't do that because views and ratings were more important than my mental health, than my emotional health, than the health of my family members. Y'all know that this gets really deep in the Black community. So suppose that something would have happened to me and one of these foolish people that play keyboard gangsters would have seen me out, which they have, and I just have not talked about it because I refuse to give them the limelight on this situation. And done something to me simply because they support that idiot and his views, and Dr. Umar and his views, or Cynthia G and her views. But Fox Soul doesn't care about that because Hope is going to bring us views. If we get Hope back up here, it's going to be a fun show. It's going to be a shit show. They're going to go at it. It's going to bring ratings. It's going to give everything it's supposed to have gave. Forgetting that I'm a human being. It's one thing when I do it to myself. It's another thing when y'all try to use me and don't even pay me for it. The least y'all could have did was slid a bitch $200. The very least. Before you turn around and invite me back to come and endure the same thing over and over again. The backlash from these two videos that I'm making, I did this to myself. So I can understand where this is coming from. I'm not blaming y'all for whatever happens and however people slice these two videos up. But when it comes down to it, the idea that y'all wanted me to come back without so much as a genuine apology bothers me. And I also feel like at this point in time, the least that y'all could do, if it's possible, would be to recognize that this goes beyond your views, beyond your ratings, and it might put a person in jeopardy if the wrong person gets gassed up enough about this disrespect and decides that they want to do something about it. I'm not a trans woman that sits in my house. I'm not a trans woman that hides behind these walls. I go out. I enjoy my life. And this means that I could run into anybody. And because of what took place on your show, based off of the lineup that y'all gave, that was not confirmed or denied with me the day of, I realized that it was confirmed once I hit that live, though. And I can't. And the crazy part about it is I have people on here saying they would have been in a depression or a rage right now. And the fact that I am not says a lot about my character, but it also says a lot about the fact of what if I wasn't me? What if I was not me? And y'all had caused a young trans woman to commit suicide behind this foolishness. Not because she did anything wrong or she said anything bad to somebody, but simply because she didn't say she was trans on a conversation that had nothing to do with it. What if it was another young trans woman who didn't have my mama, who didn't have my support system, who didn't have my boyfriend, and she would have went on there and saw the things that these people have been saying about her? What if? And Fox Soul does not care. Fox Soul does not care. And that's a fundamental problem for me. And that's the reason why I don't care what Dr. Umar says. I don't care if he says that's not him saying he gonna ever. I will never. And I need this to go on record. I would never accept another invitation, so don't send them. I will never accept another invitation, so don't send them. Don't ask me. I ain't coming. Because doing it now that I've said it is too late. You want me to know how you feel? Take the video down and let me see that, and I'll accept that as an apology. But I will never accept. I will never accept another, paid or otherwise, invitation from Fox Soul. Unless you're giving me my own show and then I can spin my own narratives. But y'all ain't gonna do that neither. But whatever. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, and I've said all that I need to say, I also want to talk a little bit about Cynthia G before I let Jerome on. And I want to do this because I don't want people to say, oh, I blatantly left her off even though she's been dragging me and this, that, and the third. Some of y'all ain't gonna like what I'm about to say, but let me say this. Cynthia was in between a rock and a hard place. Because if the footage could play back, Cynthia was fangirling over me the entire time that we were on the live. Every time we went on commercial break, damn near, she was like, oh my God, I hope you're so pretty. Oh my God, your skin. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Right? Cynthia, so it was not just the men who could not clock me. Cynthia could not clock me either. And Cynthia was giving very much so, oh my God, who is this beautiful black queen, when the cameras were not giving it. Okay? When the cameras were on for the commercial break portion of the filming, Cynthia had something to say, and she kept trying to engage in conversation with me behind the scenes about how I looked specifically. And I can tell the difference when cis girls are trying to be funny and when cis girls are legitimately giving you a compliment. And Cynthia G was legitimately giving me a compliment. And I accepted them and I said thank you. And that was what it was. So now that everything has come out, mind you, I did not know of Cynthia G. I didn't know who she was, what she does, or her thoughts or opinions about trans women. I was just there to speak my piece and go home. But now that Cynthia G has said all the things that she said in the past about trans women, there's no way that she can backtrack and try to defend me because she's already said what she said in the past. So it puts her in a messed up place and position. Because my thing is, out of everybody, I really didn't talk about you, Cynthia. But from what I've heard, because I have not watched, because y'all are not getting a view from me, I look at the titles of the videos. People send me clips, but I'm not watching it. Okay? So, when it comes down to it, Cynthia, I haven't said a word about you in the negative, period. But in order to appease these men who are going to use you as clickbait as well, and in order to appease the women that you have empowered, just like Dr. Umar has empowered, you have to now act like you so disgusted with me and I'm da-da-da-da-da. I can only imagine some of the things that you've said. But when we were on that panel together, my love, we was tag teaming. I was your girl then. So what's going on now? Because now that you've had a positive experience with a trans woman who did not take up space from you, who did not overtalk you, who did not ask you to reduce your talking points, what's your problem with me? What's your problem with me? What did I do to you? You spoke from your experience and I spoke from mine. And I never once disrespected you. But it was very much so giving fangirl backstage. So why is it all of a sudden giving something else when the people are looking? You doing me like Trey do. You acting like, oh shit, okay, I can't support you now because my brother them here, you know. That's what you was giving. You were giving very much so, oh, my peoples is here, so we can't be friends no more. And the saddest part about it is that at no point did I feel like you really went the extra mile to try to not discuss me. It's one thing to discuss the topic, but at no point am I hearing that you're going out of your way to say, leave Hope alone. Let's just talk about the topic at hand. Because Hope ain't do nothing to you. And you know that. But whatever. I'm going to give you that piece because as a black woman with your standpoint and your viewpoints and all of the things that you got going on and the way that people come at you on social media, I understand why you don't have any more room in your cup to defend me because you have all your other stuff going on. So I understand where you're coming from. But the same way that I kept your name out of my mouth, you could have and should have kept my name out of your mouth for the sake of just saying, you know what? I had a good experience with her. I'm going to leave it alone. My stance is still my stance, but Hope did not contribute to that stance. At all. But I also want to show you this. To all of the cisgender women that think that transphobia does not affect you, clock this T. When Dr. Umar made his first post, Dr. Umar did not specifically name me in that post. So do you know that for 2 days before Dr. Umar really cleared it up who he was talking about, they thought you were trans, sis? They thought you were the trans that he was talking about? So you see how that transphobia don't suit you neither? You see how that transphobia doesn't save you either? You see how talking down on me does not save you? Because the same features that y'all sit back in y'all videos and talk about, oh, that's how I could tell, that's how I know, those are the same features that people were clocking about you. People were talking about your hands and your jaw and your body and your looks before they ever even thought it was me. They talked about your wig. They talked about your makeup skills. They talked about your nails. They talked about all of those things, my love. They had so much to say about you, and you weren't even the trans woman in question. But you're more upset and frustrated with me than the people that actually use the same transphobic rhetoric that you use to try and break me down on you until Dr. Umar clarified. And let's be very clear, that was strategic. Oh, he wanted to get under my skin, but he also wanted to have a little laugh at your expense as well. Because when people were in his comments that first day when I was interested in checking the comments, never once did he correct anybody to let them know that you were not the trans person. Other people and your followers had to come and tell people that you were not the trans person. So what does that tell you? If I am a man, the vast majority of people believe that you look like one. The vast majority of people believe that you look like one. And so transphobia does not work this way. Transphobia does not work that way. No matter what your walk is to womanhood, and especially as Black women, do you understand that femininity was not built to cater to the looks and the field and the build of Black women? When they were thinking of femininity, first and foremost, when white men were thinking of femininity, they were using their women as the blueprint. Automatic fail for Black women or any other women that share our body types. Black women are naturally muscular. Black women are usually bigger. Black women have a status about them. There's something that's deep about us. And especially if you're a dark-skinned Black woman, you're masculine by proxy because they think that darker skin makes you masculine, because they have been taught that white women are the standard. And so therefore anything that's close to or adjacent to white is therefore more feminine. So if you are a dark-skinned Black woman, you got the double whammy 12 times over, because inherently just by being Black, you are less feminine. But y'all love to use transphobia to break other people down when y'all look just like us. Some of you all look just like the girls. Pre and post. Some of you all look just like the girls. Pre and post. But y'all be out here using this rhetoric that these men give you instead of letting us help y'all understand how we can all coexist so that we can break down patriarchy as it stands. Y'all want to believe that we've come here to kill, steal, and destroy. But what? Since I've been trans, biological women and cisgender women have still been women. If I pick up the phone and I call my mama right now and ask her, girl, you still got your fallopian tubes? Your uterus still there, sis? You still bleed on a monthly? My mama's response is going to be yes. Nothing about her womanhood has changed. And be mindful that there's more to womanhood than those things, but when we have these conversations, that's all y'all want to talk about. Those are the only things that y'all want to talk about. So I'm not reducing women to that. Y'all, biological, some women, not all women, some women, not all women, some biological women are reducing womanhood down to that. So I'm going based off of what you said. Because if I call my mother right now and ask her, does her vagina still function? She's going to say yes. There's nothing about it that changed because I'm transgender. Or any other girl for that matter. And the second that more people realize and recognize that, you'll be better off. My last point before I invite Jerome to come and join us. I'm seeing a lot of people say things like, we don't have this issue with trans men because trans men know their place. You know why you don't have this issue with trans men? And my trans male followers understand and know my heart when I say this. Know my heart when I say this, my trans men and my trans masculine people. The reason why y'all don't have this issue with trans men is because men don't give a fuck. The reason why y'all don't have this issue with trans men is because most men don't give a fuck. Because they either don't know that they're in the presence of a trans man. When they find out, they don't care. Because they feel and see him as somebody that's significantly weaker and he could never amount, but if he wants to try, go ahead. Or 3, worst case scenario, they see him as a stud or a very masculine lesbian woman, and they treat those women like men anyway until they want to have sex with them. And then they move on. The reason why they're not having this conversation with trans men is because they don't believe that a trans man existing can affect them. But guess what? The laws are the same. Trans men still should be invited to play on sports teams. Trans men should still be allowed to be in the bathrooms. Trans men should still be allowed. There are so many things that the correlations are still there. Trans men are in the boxing ring. And my thing is, if y'all care so much about biological women, let's be ignorant for a second. Let's be real ignorant for a second. These ain't my views, these are y'all views. These ain't my views, these are y'all views. These ain't my views, these are y'all views. But if y'all care so much about women, then how come there is not a picket fence? How come there is not a picket fence out of boxing matches that include transgender men? Because according to y'all, you can never be what you transition to be, which means that y'all should be out there protecting women in those boxing rings that are going up against biological men. But y'all ain't. So do we really care about protecting women in the sanctity of womanhood, or do we just care about the idea of having less competition for these men to sneak around with and have sex with. Because it also seems to me like we don't care about things that men don't want to have sex with. We don't care about things that present a issue with the way that we're able to date. Oh, but baby, the second that you get to sneaking up in that dating pool, it's a problem. The second that you get to sneaking up in that dating pool, baby, it is a problem. But I digress because that's another video. I'm going to allow Jerome to pop up so that he can give us his thoughts and say all that I need to say about this particular situation. I'm done. What's up, Jerome?
Hey, how are you?
Tired.
Listen, you and me both. Like there's so many things to unpack, but I just want to start with like how this situation started, just so there's clarity, because I've heard your perspective a little bit. I came in on part of it, and I saw like some of the comments and stuff like that. So, first of all, the topic had nothing to do with trans of the show. Nothing to do with trans at all. We didn't even talk about nothing dealing with trans at all. The reason why I even brought up Hope's name to be a guest on the show is because I wanted some people who had experiences with men, whether it was good, bad, indifferent, not just relationships, working, education, in the community, whatever it is, right? And so also, I know that Hope must be exhausted talking about trans topics. So I'm like, this is not a trans show, so let's invite Hope. And so that's what I did. And for the people who don't know me, one of my jobs that I do, and I'm intentional about it, is making sure that Black and or queer people have a platform, they're part of the conversations. I do it all the time. So conversation went on, and I reached out to Hope, and I also let you know, like, hey, just want to let you know, just so you're not surprised, that Dr. Umar is going to be on the show. And I said that only because I know some of his rhetoric, how he gets down. I didn't want you to be in a space and feel unsafe. And so when the show happened, like, it went off without a hitch. There was no concerns until after. So I guess what happens, and I don't know what happened, but what I'm assuming what happened is that he probably Googled you, was like, who's this smart girl who's really getting me together, who's throwing me under the, like, who's really letting me have it? And so he Googled you, and then once he found out your experience, he felt bamboozled. And so once I seen his post, I immediately reached out to like Tammy and the production team. I'm like, look at what he's saying. He thinks that we should disclose people's transness or whatever it is before they on the show. We're not ever going to do that, right? And so Tammy said, you know, I'm not apologizing to him. I stand with Hope. I support Hope. We did nothing wrong. Blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that, another. So I reached out to you. I apologized, checked on you, let you know what Tammy said, and that was pretty much it. But from what I'm assuming what happened is, because we do many shows, I've worked on several shows, what happened from my perspective is that they saw your reply. And in your reply, you said something to the effect of like, hi, I got you, I didn't know. And they were really triggered by that. And so that took that conversation of them just being triggered and going back and forth to a whole nother level, which ultimately has nothing to do with us. Because typically what happens is people go back and forth post these shows because they are debate shows. And we can't check on everybody. We don't know all the going on, but we just don't know. And so when I seen some of the back and forth going on, I told my team about that, this and other, and that was it. We didn't do a part 2 of that show. We did a completely different show about trans and disclosure just because that was just a topic. And just so happens that because Dr. Umar felt that he should have been, that you should have disclosed, we was like, let's invite some trans people on the show. Let's invite some people with different perspectives. And then they said, like, because Tammy really wants to address Dr. Umar. And so they was like, let's invite Hope back, da, 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 da. And I'm like, no, because I'm pretty sure she doesn't want to talk about trans topics. And so we were not going to invite you back. I told them no. But what happened is I heard that they was invited one of the previous guests back. And I'm like, we can't invite a previous guest back to talk about that incident and then hope not have, you know, a response or a say so or whatever. So I'm like, if you reach out to her, if she wants to do it, maybe get some her perspective, a video or whatever it is, because it just would seem unfair. And so ultimately, that's what happened, and that's what's it. That's all. And so there's like this narrative, like read in some of the comments and stuff like that, that we like, you know, trying to get ratings and views and stuff like that. Whether we have 1 million views on the episode or 1,000 views on the episodes, our contracts stay the same. And I know you said that you wanted the video to be removed. I can ask them to remove the video. But in reality, and this is just how I feel, my perspective, is that these kind of conversations goes on in real life. People have these real perspectives, whether we agree with them or not, and it's just a real conversation. And some of the episodes I've seen, I'm like, these people are really crazy, really insane, but people think like them. So people need to hear these conversations and, you know, just have that experience. So that's strictly what happened. I don't know what else to say, but yeah, those just the viewpoints of what happened.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to, you know, get that clear and you make that clear. Like nothing is like a setup or intentional or anything like that. It's just it's part of the show, and what people do afterwards, just like they felt that, you know, like they felt that we should have been on you or talked to you about some of the stuff you did. Like we just don't get into that, because we'll be into that all the time.
Okay. When it comes down to it, I feel like I hear what you're saying, but it also feels like there is a piece missing about the fact that regardless of whether I had made a response or not, the match that was struck was the episode. I could have done nothing like I've been doing since that video, and there are still videos coming out. I wasn't even a part of this part 2, and there are still videos that people are using to talk about me, to talk about the part 2 that I was not even in. And all of this stuff is stemming from this initial video. And my whole thing is, when it comes down to it, like I just said, when we support someone and when we're open and honest about not supporting something as simple as bigotry, we need to be able to stand on that the same way that we stand on the rest of our programming on a network that literally has a show that features T.S. Madison. The fact that I don't think I've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I've seen a public apology or display, because I did not watch part 2. And yes, it was a part 2. It may not have been pitched that way to you, Jerome, but when Avi called me, Avi said, it's not on paper, but it is definitely a continuation of the conversation that y'all had because of the way that it went out. That is how Avi said it to me, and I remember that. But I did not watch it, so whatever Tammy might have said, if she might have apologized on behalf of the network to me, anything that might have come from them to me that happened in that episode, I didn't watch it. But also, like I said, for me, it was less about the bandstandy shit. This whole time, I've just been saying an email, a text message from somebody who was not you, because you're right, I forgot. You did immediately reach out to me. But you didn't reach out to me and say like, hey, Hope, as a producer, because like I said, I didn't even know. I thought you just had connections with them. So you didn't reach out to me and say, hey, Hope, as a producer for the show, I see what's been going on, girl. You reached out to me as Jerome. And I accepted what you were saying as Jerome. When it comes down to it, when they reached out to me again, even after, if this is the story, that you said no, and then you saw what they were doing, and you were like, well, y'all need to run that back because I don't think that that's fair. The first thing before they asked me to be a part of that should have been, in my opinion, an apology. We're so sorry for the things that we've been seeing. We want to give you an opportunity to come on this show and talk a little bit about that experience. We don't want to spend too much time on it. And then we're going to have a general conversation about disclosure. That is not how it was pitched to me. I was pitched like I was a cash cow, and they saw a moment to once again raise the ratings and raise people's blood pressure by getting me back in the hot seat in order to piss people off all over again. It didn't feel genuine. It didn't feel like they had the right intentions. It didn't feel like they gave a fuck about any of the things that I had been going through for the last 4 weeks before they asked this question. And it just felt like, once again, here is a network trying to get the sauce off of a marginalized community, in this case, a triple threat of a marginalized community, and make me look bad. Then on top of that, for y'all to have, once again, the most uninfluential person of the conversation, after y'all had just watched him go live on one of the most problematic comedians' podcasts and talk crap about me and the other woman on the podcast for an hour and some change, I guess. I think that was the time marker because I did not watch the video. But after this, y'all did. The producers did. Fox Soul, somebody there that was in that studio watched it, and I know that they watched it because they recited it to me. I didn't know that it existed until they told me. And so the idea that now, when I ask y'all to simply just cut him from the conversation, he didn't add much to the first conversation, so why is he even being invited back to have this conversation? Now it's, we don't want to play favorites. What that says to me is, we are not going to vocally and in public and in front of everybody make any statements that say whether or not we agree or disagree. And I would have been okay with that had that been a behind the scenes thing. But the fact of the matter is, y'all want me to come back and use me again, but you're not willing to simply say that we stand against that. And I'm not talking about Tammy. I'm not talking about Jerome. I'm talking about the network at large saying that we do not support that. But they can't say that because they do, which is exactly why, even though it's Fox Soul and Fox and it's a different entity, that's why you have people like Candace Owens and all those other fucking people and Pierce Morgan that live on that network that do say those things about trans people. So how can we, even on a proprietorship network, even on an opposite network, say that we stand against that when on this other network we allow this black woman and this white man to rip y'all to shreds every other day? And I just feel like, to me, that was a trash thing to do. I did not disrespect anybody. I didn't call anybody out of their name. Even in that video that I made, which they, once again, like I showed y'all the receipts, they took it out of context and clipped it for a reason to make it seem like that was my whole zhuzh and all of that. They did that in order to make me look a certain way. But even without all of that, they still were attacking me simply for the fact that I was there. And if nothing else, I feel like somebody at Fox should have said, at Fox, as Fox, we have had a conversation about this. We see what's going on. And we just want to offer you an apology. I'm not asking for a bunch of, and that's the thing. It's not just because you're here. There's a whole video before this where I say it a bunch of different times. I'm not asking for 15 extra minutes of fame. I don't need that. I don't need an hour. I don't need 20 minutes. I was making a joke about the show because I did. I know somebody gonna bring that up, but I was making a joke about that. That was a little jab, a little giggle. But all I was asking for was at the very fucking least an email that simply says, hey girl, we see you. We fuck with you. The shit that's going on is bad. It's messed up. We want to work with you in the future. Hopefully it'll work out better. None of that ever happened before they was back in my fucking on my phone asking me to come and submit myself, not even like you said, Jerome, to not even have a conversation about transness yet again, but y'all bring me back in after Jerome has already laced y'all up and told y'all why he brought me into that conversation, to come back to another trans conversation that y'all know is going to be hot and heavy, that you know is going to get rude, that you know is going to be disrespectful, once again, to get there. I know you saying that it's not, but to get the views and the ratings up. Because yes, they might not affect your paycheck, but it affects the way that people want to tune in. And if I feel like every week it's going to be a hot button issue, I'm going to tune in more often. And how do I do that? If I pace it out so that every other week or every other month, I know that I'm gonna get them in on some topic, then guess what? The views go up because now I wanna see real quick what they gonna talk about today. What are they gonna talk about today? Do the topics get more interesting? Do the guests get more interesting? And that's how you do that. I'm not foreign to the way that this shit works. And I think that honestly, every miniature or immature fucking content creator now knows how to get an audience. And that's what Fox Soul is doing. They wanted an audience to be able to do what they wanted to do, which was once again capitalize off of this particular situation that they did not know was going to happen like that. Sure, but it did. And once it did, they saw views, dollar signs, whatever the fuck y'all get from it, but they saw it. And that's the part that I have a problem with. Like, it's just, it's trashy. And like I said before, I'm not expecting you to fix it. I'm not expecting you to go to war. I ain't asking you to write the longest email of life. And honestly, if you feel like that's not even something that you want to do, because I also understand how Black and queerness works in white society. I'm not asking you to put your neck out on the line. I'm just saying this in front of everybody so that somebody else who works there, who might feel some type of way and might want to say it, can hear it from my mouth, so that there is no ifs, ands, or buts about how Hope feels. Like I told Avi, I'm telling the world, and I'm telling anybody that comes across this video, and how I feel about it and what I think should be done. And I'm also making it known and setting the boundaries for how I want to deal with y'all from now on, which is not at all, because I feel like if you can't come to the table correct, and if you can't come to the table after somebody spills something on the floor and clean it up appropriately, then don't come back here to eat no more. Like, don't come back here to eat if you're not going to contribute to the table. If you too good to clean up when everybody is done, if you're too good to pass the peas like we used to do, then don't come here. Like, just don't come here. And that's how I feel about this whole situation. Regardless of whether I made a response video, regardless of whether people took it out of context, they were going to find a reason, just like they're finding a reason now, to make it about me, even though I didn't do anything but treat everybody on that panel with respect, use their names, and talk about the topic at hand. That is all I'm saying.
Got it. Like, and I hear you. I receive it. And what I will do is, because this is what I always do, I make sure, like, I check on my guests every time, make sure that we are having, like, conversations that are safe and that are respectful. And anytime they're not, Tammy is always quick to be like, these are her pronouns, or this, that, and other. Like, she's quick to, like, you know, put a person, like, in their place as they should. But I will go back to them and have a conversation about how they, you know, approach you the second time. Because I clearly told them, said, no, like, she don't want to talk about, this wasn't a trans issue. She don't want to talk about trans topics. But because it turned their way, because they feel like you should disclose, and they just want to have somebody else, I'm like, okay, well, you got to get her side of it. Because if you're going to address that, and I don't even know if they did, I didn't watch the whole show. But I'm like, if you're going to address that issue specifically from that show, you have to get her response, because it's going to seem unfair. So I will talk to them. I will see if they could remove the video. That's all that. Okay. But I also want to say, I didn't reach out to you to offer my apologies and stuff like that because I'm Jerome. I reached out to you on behalf of the network. Okay. Because I'm like, I brought her, because I didn't reach out to you directly, but I brought your name up. I said, have Hope do it. She's smart, she's educated, she's going to, like, have a lot to say, have her do it. And then the team reached out to you. And
no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about after the fact, Jerome. Like, when you
No, I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying after the fact.
Okay.
I'm saying I gave them your name. So, and when I seen that situation go on, that's why I reached out to you and be having a network, because I
got you. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
like I feel like I put her in this situation. Not directly, but indirectly by mentioning her name. So I just wanted to make sure that you were okay. But then you also told me that, like, I was prepared for it. I knew this was going to happen, this and other. So I was like, you know what? You know, I just wanted to check, and, you know, this is where we stand. And that was part of it. Maybe we should have made a public statement, but once I talked to Tammy and I was like, this is where Tammy stand on it, I thought that was enough. I didn't even know that videos were still going on and on and on and on, which that's what they do, because it gives them content, money, clicks, likes, and views. So that's what they do. So again, I apologize. I'm going to talk to the network, and we're going to try to make this right, because if I'm a queer person in this space, I'm always letting them know how things should be done from my perspective, and we don't always get it right. So that's all. I don't know if you have any more questions, but that's all
I'm good. I appreciate you coming and giving us that backstory insight, and, you know, we'll go from there.
All right, no problem. Have a good night.
You too, boo.
All right, bye.
So yeah, this is the last video I'm gonna make about this whole thing, because I feel like at this point I was quiet. I was trying to have a Beyonce moment. I'm not Beyonce. I don't have Beyonce's reach. I don't have Beyonce's access. And so therefore I said, fuck the Beyonce approach. Because when you sit back and you say nothing, sometimes people take that nothing for your agreeance, and they take that nothing for your admittance in the issue. And I'm not going to admit to being wrong in an issue where I did absolutely nothing except show up and answer the question that I was told to answer, and where I disrespected nobody, but everybody turned around and disrespected me. So with that being said, any of the ops that are in here that are watching the video, that are doing all of the stuff and blase, blase, blah, and whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop, know this. Continue to make your videos, because after this, I'm going back to my life. After this, I'm going back to my life. I'm going to continue to pay you dust like I've been paying you over the last couple of weeks. So I hope that y'all are enjoying this video, and I hope that y'all enjoy all the clips and the sound bites that you're going to be able to make out of this video. I hope that I see all of the funny memes that I'm going to become in the Hotep community. And I can't wait to, you know, hear some of your thoughts through proxy of other people, because I'm not going to watch your videos the same way that I didn't before. Haven't heard your commentary, don't care to hear your commentary, don't give a fuck about your commentary. But what I will say is this: understand the way that you've been used as a pawn if you are a Black woman who has an issue with the fact that I spoke my truth and you agreed with it until somebody told you not to. Realize how you were used as a pawn by the same Black men who you claim to have an issue with telling you what to do, that these same Black men told you what to do and you listened to it. Because once again, I tell this story all the time. In her ignorance, before my mom and I started to do some work, my mom said something to me and it made sense to me. And I understood it from her ignorance of not really knowing how to convey her thoughts. And when I was very early in my transition, my mom said to me, as a cisgender biological woman, the woman that brought me into this world, said to me, and I need y'all to hear this with y'all heart and not with y'all ears right now for my trans family. Because if you hear with your heart, you're going to know what my mama, what she meant and where she was coming from. My mother said to me, you are beautiful, you're a woman, and all of those things, and I'm going to respect you as such. Howsoever, don't damn bitch walking, riding, sliding, or skating on this earth make me feel like I'm less of a woman, period. And especially not no woman that used to be a man. Now, if you hear that with your hearts, you understand that what my mom is truly saying is, I got so much confidence in who I am. I have so much confidence in the woman that I is, that it ain't damn one of y'all bitches breathing gonna make me feel like what you eat can make me shit. So do you. Do you. Be whoever you're going to be. Because it does not take away from who I am. Period, point blank. And ever since she said that to me, I recite that to as many cisgender biological women that I can, because I need y'all to understand that a lot of y'all don't have an issue with trans women. A lot of you all have an issue with yourselves. And you use trans women as the scapegoat to be able to find something else to deflect from the fact that you should really be in a therapist's office talking through your problems and not on the internet talking about me. That is it. That is all. As I come and I go, I do so in love, and I hope that it's received. But to those of you all who are going to choose to misunderstand me, as you do all the time, I still wish you well, because I am still booked, I am still busy, and the dick is still fire. And good day.